Are you ready to learn? Because my super experienced guests are ready to share some really valuable information. Make sure and listen all the way to the end to get help and support. So let's start with the best audio experience.
What's up, guys? Welcome to our show. Good people, welcome to our show. By the way, I don't want to discriminate bad people. Welcome to our show as well. Anyone, welcome to our show. Today we discuss more about SEO, how you can align SEO with products. And I'm excited to discuss this topic with Pedro Diaz. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you for having me. Thanks for the invite in the first place.
Yeah, it's a big pleasure. I love. Yeah,
yeah.
for me, it's
I'm in sunny
pleasure.
London, and it's like very hot today. So
nice. Yeah, I'm in Florida. In Florida, yeah, it's always sunny. Yeah, sometimes it's raining, but right now it's sunny. And yeah, actually, I left Ukraine 2 months ago when the war started, but right now I'm in Florida. So that was hard, but it's life. We can go ahead. I think the Ukrainian army will destroy Putin in one day. But yeah, so everything what we can do just to help and donate them. Okay, I'm interested about your experience background. Tell our audience more about you, about your experience, and why you decided to take this topic.
okay. So my experience. Funnily enough, I started in SEO from search. I worked first on a search engine and then came to do SEO after. And that doesn't necessarily teach you SEO the same way, because before working at Google, which I did for 5.5 years, my background was in areas like user experience and web accessibility and usability, etc. So all those cornerstones that are useful also to search engines. Search engines are like people with disabilities, so they need some web accessibility features to be able to find content. So unconsciously, I already had some of the cornerstones needed to understand what search engines look for. And when I went to Google, like beginning of 2006, many of these things were useful because Google was looking for people that had knowledge in these areas and both web development and web technologies. So I started by looking at search and what quality search looks like, and what the quality website looks like, and all the mistakes that people do online, and what you shouldn't do in terms of quality, and what is spam, what is a bad website, and what is a good quality website. So all this experience that I gained for looking at websites and how the market moves online and what people do online gave me a lot of insights, and I gained a vision on how SEO kind of works from there. So yeah, that's in a nutshell. That's mostly. So I've been working with search for 16 years now.
Nice.
An SEO consultant since like 2012. So it's going to be like it's 10 years already that I'm an SEO consultant.
Nice.
So I'm an in-house person now. I've worked as a consultant. I've worked with marketing, and now I am part of an in-house team, which is part of product. And product is nothing else than a team of engineers and a team of designers and a team of content producing people that kind of come together to build something. And you end up working more with the technical side of things than with the marketing side of things. And that's for some time I had the theory when I worked in marketing. I had the theory that SEO worked and aligned more with product than with marketing, and that's the vision that I got also when I worked at Google. But I had not I did not have hands-on experience. So once I came into the side of being part on integrating a product team, I could validate my theories. and I can say that yes, I was right about it. So yeah,
Nice.
in a nutshell, that's mostly it.
Nice, love your experience. By the way, I wanna confess with you because 10 years ago when I started SEO, I had only one strategy to create e-commerce pages and bought more backlinks than my competitors had. That worked well. I got ranking positions, but Google penalized me in 2012 with this new filter penguin. I didn't know what's going on. How it's possible for me to lose my ranking positions because I have more backlinks than my competitors have. My content is more about product marketing. Today, I can see that users' intent play a huge role. What do you think about that?
So the thing is like quality is right there to make this distinction between
Mm-hmm.
quantity and what's really useful. So
Mm-hmm.
when you say, oh, I have more backlinks than my competitors, that doesn't necessarily is going to give you an advantage, because if I have two links, one from NASA and one from New York Times, and you have like 10,000
Mm-hmm.
links all from blogspot.com or from whatever, who's gonna win? So it's not
Mm-hmm.
it's not a matter of quantity but quality itself. And then
Yeah.
yeah, it's like Google before like 2012. I mean, Google started to have a better approach to quality like early 2010, like
Mm-hmm.
when they started like to launch. So they launched Panda initially in 2011.
Yeah.
So that's when they started to have uh, to externalize their concerns with quality content, because
Mm-hmm.
before everything was more like, oh, this is spam, so we are going to act on it, and this is not spam. And then there's everything else in the middle, which is a gray area. It's like, what about the people that just write content to monetize and there is no other purpose to it? That's not clearly
Mm-hmm.
like spam or keyword stuffing or anything, but there's no use to it as well. So it
Mm-hmm.
was like that sits in the middle, and you cannot address it as in a classic way of fighting spam, because it's not.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
Google had to approach this in another way. So that's Google externalized and made public their algorithms are more focused on quality content.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, love it. Okay, can you tell how to find the right strategy today? For example, if I open any keyword research tools, Google Keyword Planner, SEMrush, Ahrefs, Moz, Uber suggests many other well-known tools, I usually see a list of keywords, a lot of keywords, 1,000 keywords. But how to choose the right keywords for me that will I don't know, like where I can sell my products, where I can get results, and where I can win competition. Because today we have huge competition with any keywords that we find on tools. Can you provide more insights about that?
So most people that work with a keyword discovery tool, they
Mm-hmm.
tend to start looking at, these are the keywords that I have to use, and then it quickly goes into, again, the amount of content that I am going to write, and the amount of content that I'm going to put my efforts on. And sometimes this ties in nicely with the how long should a piece of content be, because
Mm-hmm.
it's not about how many of those keywords that you use, or how many how long should your content be. It's about what can you cover with your knowledge that
Mm-hmm.
makes a difference beyond what everyone else has. So I can have more keywords, for example, if I sell tires, whatever, and I start to write about it, and I go as, I know there's an infinite amount of content that I can generate about tires.
Mm-hmm.
But my business only sells tires. So is it worth for me to talk about, I don't know, tire
Relate.
technology,
Mm-hmm.
or how tires are recycled? Those are two spectrums of the
Mm-hmm.
content that might not be worthy for me as someone who sells tires to go, because it,
Mhm.
you know, my audience, which is people that want to buy tires, are likely not interested in, how tires are made, because that's a very early research phase, or they are not concerned on how tires are recycled, because that's another concern, not necessarily directly tied with me selling tires.
Mhm.
So the first approach is, you have to draw the line until where you want, until how far on your content are you willing to go. And because it's very easy to get drawn into this infinite game of content that you just like keep uh, going more and more and more, and suddenly it doesn't add value anymore to what your business is. So you have to draw the
Mhm.
line: which kind of content adds value to my business and makes me sell or achieve my goals. And then from
Mhm.
there, you have a finite amount of things to work with, and you will not feel so overwhelmed, and you can produce content based on your knowledge. And then your knowledge is what counts. Like, well, how can you
Mhm.
make the best product fit the customer that is searching for something? So I think that's the best strategy, is knowing where to cut, knowing where to start, knowing where to finish, not getting dragged along to the infinite of, no, I have to write 10,000 more keywords than my competitor. That's not necessarily going to be a good approach.
Yeah, I agree with that completely. It's like, for example, for me, to rank keyword SEO. It's if I rank this keyword, okay, I can get a lot of traffic. But the first thing, what kind of traffic you can get? Because SEO services are quite different to SEO. Yeah, it's probably relevant traffic, but it's not related to my services. So
Yeah.
yeah, I completely agree with that. It's better to find where you can sell your products. What about content marketing? For example, today most customers don't buy from unrecognizable brands. How to unite some info keywords with your products in your content strategy?
So the problem with content marketing is that is often, um, first is like, it has it usually, I'm not saying that it's all the time this, but it usually has a more salesy approach than it should have, where sometimes it should have a more, how what am I going to give to the user for free, because content is about giving the users something useful and of value in exchange for their time or for their willingness to stick to your brand. So
Mm-hmm.
you have to give them something first for free.
Mm-hmm.
That's what content marketing is like, um, well, it should be. Otherwise, it's
Mm-hmm.
just PR. Um, and you don't want to come off as like purely with the interest to sell. You should come off with an interest to help your users,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where you are. That's when you start to look at content marketing with another angle. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you will need to think about what kind of useful or valuable piece of data or advice or whatever am I going to put in this piece of content that's going to, make the users prefer my brand rather than my competitors. And doesn't look like that I'm just looking after sales, which you are, but that should be a byproduct of you being useful and valuable to your users.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, love it, love it. Can you name three things that all webmasters should do? Okay, we know about content, about links. Let's take away them. Let's accept two things. Other three things that all webmasters need to do today.
All masters need to do today: do the
Yeah.
basics very well. I think some people are sometimes too focused on advanced stuff, looking for the advanced things like I want to use artificial intelligence to rewrite my content, and I want to do, you know, um, very sophisticated calculations of internal linking value, and but they forget to do the basics really well done.
Mhm.
And sometimes that fails spectacularly because, you know, you put a lot of effort in things that that don't have a sustainable uh, you know ground, and doing the
Mhm.
basics really well means that you make your foundations really solid to work on
Mhm.
everything else that comes, and you make the most value of what you publish and of
Mhm.
what you have on your website. So I think masters should be able to do basic really well and almost flawlessly before delving into anything that is more sophisticated.
Yeah. Okay. I found on your LinkedIn profile that you specialist, technical SEO consultant, and UX. I'm interested, because when I speak with SEO specialists, they usually pay attention to one direction, or UX or technical optimization. And by the way, it's interesting that who is paying attention to UX can tell me technical SEO doesn't matter. The people with background with technical SEO can tell vice versa. No, it's important to have high speed. And can you tell how to unite them, all these skills, to one cohesive goal when you provide your SEO?
So the thing is that the UX part, which is stands for user
Mhm.
experience is the whole experience that you have on your website, and the reasons why you should do something. So the UX part gives you the whys and gives you the ammunition so you can do the technical improvements that you need to do. So it's not
Mhm.
one or the other, it's one that complements the other. And I usually, when I'm part of a product team, I'm not as an SEO, I'm the head of SEO at the company that I am at this time. And I'm part of a product team, and whenever I need them to do something, a technical change, either it's like I need to have access to the server logs, so I need to have um, implement a better website architecture, internal linking, whatever. These are all technical things, which then I you have a reason to get developers so they can do stuff for you.
Mhm.
And usually, if you, I found out that if you base your needs and what you need to accomplish on UX principles, which fall on anything that covers usability, everything that covers web accessibility, everything that covers
Mhm.
information architecture. So these are all part of UX.
Mhm.
If you back up your needs with the documentation based on these disciplines, you are 100%, 200% more likely to get traction and get your things done, rather than just saying it's because Google liked us, because it's SEO, it's because um, Google said this. Usually, these things and all all things that you need to accomplish that drive a good user experience are backed up by disciplines that existed way before Google, and that Google
Mhm.
taps in, like web accessibility, to 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 make the web useful and to index the web. So
Mhm.
if you know these disciplines, if you know these areas, you study them, you already are chasing after what Google is chasing. You are not chasing Google, because
Mhm.
your aim as an SEO should be chase what your users want and what they will search, rather than chasing Google, because
Mhm.
Google chases users. So if you chase users too, you are chasing the same thing that Google is, and you are
Mhm.
not one step behind.
Yeah,
So
love it, love it. Can you tell? I'm interested. You worked on Google. Can you tell any human being can understand everything from SEO. Is it possible or not? Because I often get even John Mueller replies many times. I don't know. It depends. I think people can't even if they work on Google can't know everything. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, no, I don't think anyone that's wise enough says that they will know everything.
Mm-hmm.
I like to be open to discuss anything with people that I work with, and I often
Mm-hmm.
encourage them. I have people that report to me, and I've worked with a bunch of people that they they look after me, and they kind of would respect my opinions. But sometimes I encourage them to challenge my opinions because they they might know something, or they might have experienced something that I didn't. And if we can make things work in a logic way that makes sense, again, applying everything that we know around user experience, usability, web technologies, etc., then we all end up gaining more. So I think having a posture like, oh, I know more than everyone else, is a very arrogant kind of posture to have. And that's the moment where you stop learning. And
Uh-huh. Yeah.
both in SEO or in search, you should never stop learning, because new technologies are coming out all the time. New things are coming out of the time. And everyone in SEO has had different experiences on how to solve a problem. And SEOs are problem solvers by default. We are not tool operators, we are problem solvers. That's why it depends. The depends comes from the ways to solve a problem are different according to the different technologies that you find, according to the different technical stacks that you have, and so on. So that's a lot of it depends on the job. Yes.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think we are students in this life, you can't be
Yeah.
expert. And yeah, I agree with you. I often see some LinkedIn profiles, and they have a bio like I'm a guru and SEO. I'm an expert, but I can see totally the same on Neil Patel, on June Mueller, and many other experts, really experts, because they are students. They can't proclaim they are experts or gurus. So, guys, if you have it, just remove it. Be transparent. Tell you are learning, but you have some skills to help others. You can help in with your skills to lead them in the right direction. But nobody can be an expert in this life. Probably AI can. I don't know. What do you think about AI? Because I like it that John Mueller replies many times. Don't use AI. It doesn't work. You can hurt your quality of content. But for example, I use it. I use all the time, but I edit a lot. For example, I compared if I write myself, I can spend like I don't know a day to write 2,000 words. But with I can write like 20,000 words by editing a lot. I edit a lot. I check out. I add some information manually. So, what do you think about AI? Do we need to use it or not?
I think when we make tools work to help us and to help our work, it's smart.
Mm-hmm.
When we try to make tools replace our work, that's when things go
Mm-hmm.
wrong. A friend
Mm-hmm.
of mine who is an automation engineer, he once told me that the tricky part about automation is not making automation; it's controlling the end result. So
Mm-hmm.
when you don't control the end result and you implement automation in a way, because AI is automation in some
Mm-hmm.
way, if you don't control the output, then anything can come out. And
Mm-hmm.
mostly what is concerning is when it doesn't come out in terms of quality, in terms of error checking, when you don't fully control or are confident on all the variables that make that thing happen, that make that work happen, then the the dangerous part is that automation works at scale. So things at some point will start happening without you realizing that they are happening. And they can quickly reach a level that it's like it's like you will find yourself in the very big problem very quickly. Because of the scale of how automation works. So yes, we should use AI, we should use machine learning and all these technologies that we have at our disposal. I just don't think yet that they are ready to replace human curation. So we should use them to give us data, and but before we make it public, so we can look and, you said, like, edit and make it better and spot the errors, so then we can makes our work easier and not harder, because if we just let it loose, it can quickly become a problem, and then it just is making our work harder instead of easier. So yeah, we should definitely use it, but we should always control the output.
Yeah, love it. Okay, I have the question about an online shop that has a million products. It's hard to update all these products, to rewrite context. What do you think? How to handle a million products with limited resources? For example, if you have 10 people in your team who can write, but even if they check out manually, they can, I don't know, like to fix 100 pages, 1,000 pages, but not million. Can you tell from your experience what to do at that point?
So what I recommend here, usually when people work with like a shop that sells products, in the days I heard a lot of people saying, oh, you need to rewrite unique descriptions for each product that you have on your store. And that's a tricky thing to do, because if you think about it, for example, I know that I like the iPhone and I want to buy an iPhone, and I know that it has a certain specs and certain things that come off the manufacturer in some way that I'm already familiar with them. And this applies to any product. So if this microphone, this camera, or whatever, I know the technical details of these things. And sometimes by rewriting them, if I go and I rewrite the descriptions or whatever for these products, I might be doing a disservice, because I might be taking away some of the things that users know and search for, just because I want to make them unique. So by the time that I'm finished rewriting stuff, I will not be ranking for what most products of the same kind of the same as that rank, because you are replacing the description for that product. So instead of my approach is that you should not change the manufacturer description for the product, but you should add your knowledge on top of it if you have. And that should be done for your most valuable products, for your products that are sell the most, and start there. Start with the top 50, and then reiterate, or put some effort in working the categories of the products that you have listed. For example, people that search for 45-inch TV, they don't necessarily want to buy a 45-inch TV right away. They might be in the researching phase of looking at 45-inch TVs and seeing what brands are there. So if on the category of your e-commerce site, instead of having just a listing of products, if you have like a mix of, oh, here's a small listing, and now here are the brands that are compose all the 45-inch TVs, and here's the guide that you produced on the best 45-inch TVs. If you want to download it, here it is. So make like a mixed menu of things, instead of just like a list of of products. So, and like this, you will enrich your pages and will provide users value for what they are searching. So, and it's a way to invest in content that doesn't seem so overwhelming, like writing all the categories for all your products. Yeah, sorry
Yeah.
for the 45 inch. It was just an example.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Love it.
Don't take
Love it.
things
I
so
give you that.
literally.
Yeah, you unhided my secret, how to handle the process, because I stole the secret from Bill Gates and Warren Buffett. These guys shared that you need
They stole it
to
from me.
I hope. And they shared you need to prioritize all your efforts. For example, if you have product A and product B, you spend like $1,000 to promote all these products, but when you sell 2 times more A than B, why you need to market B if you can market 2 times more A and get 4 times more? Yeah, simple prioritization. If you have limited resources, don't try to sell anything, just find priorities and jump on that. Yeah, I agree with that. uh, I'm interested about UX. Can you tell how to check out UX today? Okay, we can open Google Analytics to analyze common metrics like time on site, bounce rate, but what about uh, other aspects like simplicity, personalization, or how do we know that our content is standing out from the rest? Provide more insights about UX.
So things like what I usually recommend is, combine metrics, like, because looking at metrics in an isolated way, for example, looking at bounce rate will not tell you that your page is good or is bad. All you know is that bounce rate is a metric that says the user didn't visit any other pages when they after they landed on this one. And that can mean a lot of things. That can mean that, for example, if I do a search for 45-inch TV, and if I come to the page and read about it, and I'm happy with the content and I close my browser, did I have a bad experience? Not necessarily, but I generated a bounce. So, it's already like a wrong way of interpreting that metric. Some people associate bounce rate with a bad thing, when necessarily it isn't. On the other way, I could have landed on a page that doesn't have necessarily what I want, and I clicked through a bunch of other pages trying to find what I wanted on that website, and I didn't generate a bounce. And that's not a good experience. So again, a bounce is like a metric that's very tricky, and it should not be looked at in an isolated way. So I always like try to combine, like, look at scroll depth, look at we can use like scroll depth nowadays with Google Tag Manager, or firing events throughout the page, or combining other metrics. I don't know, like use a heat map, use like look at heat maps, and make sure that users are doing what you expect them to do. They're not clicking in places that they think it's a boot on it. It isn't. So that is a very identifying success is just like a combination of metrics, and you have to decide which metrics define success in your case. If it's like scroll depth combined with any other things, then go that way. If it's subscribing, leaving the email, then track that. But never look at those metrics in isolation. I think the biggest mistake is looking at metrics in isolation, or even rankings in isolation, and not understanding the whole picture. So I'd say like the best thing that says you are being successful is that you are consistently, you have stable rankings, you are not fluctuating all the time, and that you are consistently there on the positions, and that people you have a good CTR, you have a good um, um, conversion in whatever that means to you, etc. So look at metrics together, never in isolation, if that can be done.
Yeah, love it, love it. Let's talk about technical optimization. For example, when I check out any website, I can see a bunch of technical errors. And in most cases, web developers can't fix even, I don't know, huge percent of these errors, a lot of. And it's not only about my website, about my clients, many others, they want to see in green zone, according to page speed insights. What do you think? How to find this balance between what we can fix, what we can't fix? Because I often see websites in the top 10 results in red zone, and they don't care about that. Probably they care, I don't know, but they rank well. What do you think about that?
So it all comes down to a matter of cost versus benefit, right? In the end, because what I found from working on core vitals is that there's so much you can fix, for example, until you hit third-party code. It's very easy to fix things that you control, but then once you have like tags from other third-party code providers on your website, it's very difficult to control what those pieces of code do. So I would say start by solving and focusing on what you control and making a progress there, and of course, like, you have to understand what is costly to fix versus what is easy to fix, and kind of going there. And then when it comes to third-party code, what I seen that it works is you need to track performance. So once you have a way that you are tracking how each piece of third-party code affects your website in terms of how much does this ad provider or this I don't know, affiliate widget is slowing down my website, how much does it contribute to the core web vitals. And once you have that information, you can look at it and say, okay, you are making me this amount of money on one side, on the other side you are harming me this much. Is it worth it? And if it isn't, then you go to the third party code provider and say, look, this is how much I'm making from you, and this is how much you're costing me. So either you fix your code, or I'll have to remove it, in case, of course, it costs you money and it makes you a very little margin. So you always have to have a piece of information to look at, and to compare revenue, compare how much you are making off, instead how much it's costing you. Because if it's making you a lot of money, it's costing you very little, and it's impacting your core battles a bit, it's very likely that's not going to make a huge difference, that fix, or people are not going to want it to touch it. So you'll have better traction with other items.
Nice, nice. James is asking about KPIs, how to measure KPIs. By the way, on the previous live stream, Andrew Optimize shared some insights how to do it in Google Analytics. You can set up and analyze KPIs just doing only on Google Analytics. So if you're interested, you can watch the previous live stream, and he shared like 5 minutes the technical aspect how to do it. Can you reply to this question as well about KPIs in the SEO?
So I usually there are KPIs that are value driven in SEO, but there are a lot of KPIs that are mitigation of risk. So sometimes it's not only the value or the impact that a piece of work will have, but also what it will prevent from happening. What bad things can this prevent from happening, and how would these bad things impact you negatively if you would left them unchecked or unfixed? So sometimes you have to look at value in SEO from, a mitigation of risk point of view, rather than just value and impact point of view. And once you have that, you will be in a better position to negotiate if things will go ahead or not. Of course, you have to have like a fair assessment of what risk represents for your business. What if we leave this, broken amp setup in our business, and we don't fix it? How much impact is this gonna have? You'll have to look in how much revenue you have from amp, how much having broken pages impact you from appearing well well placed, if at all, or if users have a tough time using your site when it's not amp. So all of that kind of counts into the calculations of the mitigation, for example, in the case that I was illustrating. So you have to, I recommend that you look at SEO value and KPIs not only from a perspective of adding value, but from a perspective of preventing bad things from happening.
Yeah, James added about, I guess I just don't see marketing software development is equally analyzed as a new feature or technical debt, etc. For me, I can feel about SEO. It's a risky game as well. It's not like gambling, but it's a risky game. You can win traffic, you can lose traffic, you can competitors can outsmart you. It happens. It's the same. For example, when people wanna lose weight, 90% of people can't lose weight. They started to eat healthy food, go to train, sleep well, but they can't lose weight because sometimes they can fail to continue this way. They give up. Or for example, it's the same like learning French. If someone wanna learn French, many people can't learn a new language because they give up. It's hard to do it. SEO is the same. You need to go ahead, to learn, to fail many times. For example, I don't know what works for me. I need to test many different strategies to think which one will work for me, how to optimize. It's a hard game, long playing game. So for me, it's like gambling. But if you don't give up, if you go ahead, if you cooperate with experts, who know how to know how to go ahead. For example, I failed one time with projects. I decided to earn money with one project 5 years ago. I opened a website and I didn't understand anything about this niche. That was not my niche. 3 years, I spent all my resources and gave up. And I got experience. I never take any niche if I don't understand this niche. If it's not mine, it's better to skip it and go with something that you understand. That's why I'm learning a lot about my customers before trying to help them. And I usually tell, success depends on you, not me. I can't help you. I can only to show the way where you need to go. But if you create low quality content, if you can't help me to optimize website, how I can help you that way? So yeah, it's my point of view.
Yeah, you are exactly right. And I usually use that analogy a lot. Like SEO is like being a nutritionist, like that advising people how to lose weight, or even being a lawyer. Like the lawyer cannot promise to make you innocent. They can promise to argue the best to their case. So there's a lot of it depends also in law, in interpreting the law and making a narrative. And SEO is very similar in the aspects like we don't know all the variables that Google is gonna look at.
Yeah.
And like everybody works in a different way. That's why the same way to lose weight doesn't work with everyone, because my body and your body and everyone else's body is different, and they react differently to different types of food. So we assuming that the same diet or the same food is going to have the same effect in everyone. It's not true. And so that's a lot of on it depends. And what you said, and rightfully so, is like, if my website is crap and I optimize it, I'm not gonna turn crap into strawberries. I'm gonna stick with optimized crap. I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna turn a bad thing into a good thing just because I did SEO on top of it. So if you don't have value at the start, if your product, if your website doesn't drive value or deliver value to users, adding SEO on top of it will very unlikely is going to do anything good for it, or it's just going to expose more how bad your website is, and then it's going to work against you. So yes, the examples that you gave are right, spot on, and I usually give the same examples many times. Yeah.
Yeah, love it. Thanks again for your time. It's a big pleasure, to get you on my show. Tell our audience how they can reach out to you, learn more about you, follow you.
So I'm usually very heavy Twitter user. So I'm at Pedro Diaz on Twitter, and there's the handle on screen. So if you, I usually reply to people when they ask me things, if they're not like bad people on Twitter and kind of, so the thing is that that Twitter can be very toxic and very good. I have very good friendships that came from Twitter. I have people that they will read everything very literally that you say, and sometimes life doesn't work that way, much less SEO. SEO is not literal at all. It's like you have to interpret the things in context. So reach out to me on Twitter. You can add me on LinkedIn also. It's Pedro Diaz on Twitter as well, on LinkedIn too. And yeah, those are the main ways of getting in touch with me.
Nice. James, thanks a lot for your questions. You're super active. And, it's interesting about Twitter. You replied that you help others. But, when Elon Musk decided to deny his first proposition to buy Twitter because of spam, because,
Spam,
and
because he wants proof that Twitter has like less than 5% spam or something like this, which is like ludicrous.
And interesting, after that, Ren Fishkin decided to share his study that that was around 90% of Twitter users are bots. So be careful with that, because you can get these spam messages on Twitter, on LinkedIn as well. I often get these spam messages. So on email, everywhere. So I think spam is the part of the process. You need to filter out. Yeah. By the way, emails can help, to find a lot of spam, to remove it. But on Twitter and LinkedIn, it's more harder, but it's possible. Yeah. Thanks a lot, Pedro. Yeah, it's a big pleasure. Guys, you can find links to Pedro Diaz on the description below. Listen us on Apple, Google, Spotify, and see you next time.
Thanks for having me. See you next time.